Hey, what's up? It's your man Dre Infinitii, and you're watching The Hot Seat. I knew I had something when I blew out the rap circle at Milliken High School in 1986. I was a sophomore at that time. I was about 15 years old. And actually, I had only been in California for like 2 years at the time because I came out here from Ohio. So in Ohio, music was the furthest thing from my mind. But when I got to California, I had to be involved. And when I bust that flow at that rap circle and I blew everybody out, that's when I knew it was my time. I had to keep going. I had to keep trying, and I pursued it. But at that time, rapping was about battling. So your name was about battling. We wasn't thinking about record deals. Record deals was another thing that was a way figment of a person's imagination because we was not rapping for record deals. We was rapping for recognition. You know what I'm saying? So we had to battle. You had to make your name. At the time when I was in high school, my name was Def Rock D. You know what I'm saying? Everybody had them cool chief, cool Herc, whatever. My name was Def Rock D, and I kept that name up until I graduated. And all through high school, I just battled everyone I could. And my music education while I was in high school, and actually my music training while I was in high school, came from the 1580 KDAY AM stereo performing arts program. See, a lot of people don't know K-Day now started out on the AM. It was the first and the only rap hip hop radio station in LA. And they happen to have a performing arts program directed towards gifted and talented kids in the street. Taking kids out of the hood who could dance, who could rap, who could sing. If you had a talent, they brought you in. And shouts out to Rory Kaufman because he was the program director and he taught a lot of us how to get it in. I appreciate that very much. My first show that I ever did, Cal State, Dominguez Hills, and Tone Loc was the headliner. And I went on right before Tone Loc. I was 16 years old, and my man Teddy Styles, shouts out to Teddy Styles, was my DJ, and he was out there doing that number one in Cleveland. Oh yeah, I mean we was no sound effects. It was him on them wheels, and I did my first show off of the Rock Skate instrumental. What got me into the studios, I was already on the road, dancing with King T. So I seen the studio, but I never really took an interest until one day I was at the studio with a group called Four Deep, who happened to be the sons of the group, the Gap Band. And as I was in the studio, I saw the engineer there, and he was just sitting there, letting the guys do their thing, just waiting patiently. And I asked him what he do, and he said, "I'm a sound engineer." And I was like, well, what all those buttons do and knobs do and everything? He's like, yeah. I'm saying, wow. And I asked him how much did he make, and he was like, well, the room is a block rate as much. I was like, okay, that's all fine and dandy, but how much do you make? And he said $90 an hour. And at that, 2 days later, I went and enrolled at Long Beach City College in a music program and tried to learn, actually attempted to learn and actually did learn a few things from Long Beach City College, but I was more of a hands-on person. They had their labs and everything, but you got 46 workstations and 200 students. That was too slow for me. So I went and got me a record deal because I wanted to be an engineer. And the way I saw it, my mind was thinking, well, if I became a rap star or a rap artist, that would put me in the studio. Then I'll be in the studio enough to make my own music, learn how it works, and become an engineer. That was the philosophy I applied. My record deal with Ruthless Records. How did that come? I was working with DJ Speed. Shouts out to DJ Speed. We was working at his mom's house first over in Compton, working on some demos. And Easy had a house over in Norwalk. And over at that house, one of the rooms was a studio. and DJ Speed and myself, we were in there working on my demos. At the time, I wasn't even signed with Ruthless, but Eric had happened to come to that house that day, and heard me getting it in. He was like, "That's your stuff?" And I was like, "Yup." He's like, "You got a deal?" I was like, "Nope." He's like, "Go up to Ruthless Records on Monday. Tell Jerry Heller I sent you and tell him I said get you a record deal." I went up to Ruthless Records, and Jerry Heller treated me like a wet noodle, because who's this kid walking in here telling me to give him a record deal because Eric said so. He called Easy. Easy said, "Yeah, I sent him up there." And before you know it, they was offering me a contract. DJ Speed was my producer on the project, and we was hitting it. We was going. Dre was actually on his way out, so I never got a chance to sit down with Dre. And this is right on the cuff where he was just now starting Death Row, but I was already in the works with Ruthless, and it was kind of like a big thing for me to sign with Ruthless. This is like the first, gangster rap label out of LA, Compton area, and I had the luxury of being signed to it. So I was like, man, I'm rolling with Eric, you know what I'm saying? We were actually in the studio working on my album. I had Rhythm D was working on some tracks for me. Hutch, Big Hutch, Code 187 from Above the Law, he was co-producing a couple of records for me. And in the midst of working on my album, that's when I found out Eric was sick, and then they had put all production on hold till they figured out what was going on. And then afterwards, I got a phone call saying, Dre, Eric passed. And I was like, whoa, blew my mind. Everything had came to a halt, and I never forget it because Jerry Heller was like, at this point, we're going to go ahead and release you from your contract. Basically, what I did is I do what anybody else would do. Stand up, dust the dirt off, start moving forward, and revamp your trail. So basically what I did is since I didn't have the ability to be in the major studios like I was before, I decided to build a smaller pre-production studio at my house. I was living in Watts at the time with a couple of roommates, and I had a little bit of money left over from my Ruthless deal, so I went out. I bought some pre-production equipment, a 4-track mixer, drum machine, keyboard, and I got to work, some turntables, and I started learning. And then from there, I started anywhere someone was looking for a producer or a sound engineer, I was on it. And again, this your man Dre Infinite, and you watching The Hot Seat.